New at 9, tragedy rattles a small town community.
A 16-year-old girl is dead after being shot and killed by another teenager. Coming up, hear from her school district on how they're helping her friends handle the horror.
Logan, I'm sliding! Logan, I'm sliding!
Incredible video of a close call in the Big Cottonwood Canyon backcountry.
It's a terrifying moment.
The dangers to look for that could save your life.
Right now, tracking a winter storm across the region where our snow levels will be coming up.
He was set to be sworn in as one of Utah's top law enforcement officials, but this morning, that didn't happen.
As the future post director, don't you think the public has a right to know that you've been reported to post?
I don't know what to say.
How a Fox 13 News investigation caused the state to postpone the move indefinitely.
Several Utah teachers are helping further space exploration. A week in Utah's desert to show students what life could be like on Mars.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
A 17-year-old boy right now is in police custody for allegedly shooting and killing a 16-year-old girl in Piute County.
Her death has completely rattled that small community. Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser went to Junction and spoke with the school district superintendent, who says he cannot recall whether a student has ever been murdered there before.
At night, Dock Springs Road is cold, quiet, and pitch black. This dirt road is where a high school girl took her final breaths after she was shot by another teenager.
Lots of tears, a lot of students struggling.
The halls of Piute County High School were heavy Monday as students and staff processed the horrific tragedy.
I heard lots of people say things like this don't happen here. We feel so safe here, and makes you question how safe you are.
The shots fired call came in just before 10, and it took an hour before Sevier County deputies spotted the 17-year-old suspect's truck 55 miles away in Glenwood. He fled and the high-speed chase ended in Salina.
Any loss of life is a pretty significant event, and definitely being felt by the entire community.
Superintendent Kobe Willis says the district excused all absences. Counselors came in from other schools and counties to offer help.
We sent some counselors to homes and in cases where he felt like that might be necessary.
The 17-year-old is charged with aggravated murder, and his and the victim's name have not been released. Willis wants her family to know that they have their support.
Obviously, we've thought a lot about them today, and hope they know how much the community loves them, and anyway, that we're thinking about them.
A detention hearing was already held Monday afternoon. The suspect is charged in the 6th District Juvenile Court, but county attorneys are hoping to try him as an adult. Reporting in Piute County, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Logan, I'm staying on top, but I am sliding.
Caught on camera, a snowboarder got swept up in an avalanche in Big Cottonwood Canyon yesterday and survived.
As Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree shows us, the danger remains high in the mountains with more winter storms here already tonight.
Logan, I'm sliding! Logan, I'm sliding!
Blake Nielsen shared this wild video of him riding an avalanche just north of the summit of Kessler Peak.
As the rider gets onto the slope, everything looks like it's good to go. And he does a little bit of what we call a slope cut. So he's kind of testing the snow for instability.
Craig Gordon says the rider reported that his group had tested the snow and found no instabilities, but the mountains have seen some seriously strong winds lately.
Once the snow starts to break up around you and you realize that it's starting to suck you downhill and you're seeing trees kind of fly by you at a quick rate of speed, it's a terrifying moment.
I'm staying on top, but I am sliding.
Although this rider was able to stay on top of this avalanche, Gordon says deeper and more dangerous ones can still happen right now.
We are going to see more wind, more snow. Avalanches are going to break a little bit deeper and wider than you might expect.
With the snowpack still adjusting to last week's storms, Gordon says with more snow on the way, Skiers, riders, and snowmobilers need to remain extra avalanche aware.
They might be a little bit smaller, they might be a little more predictable, but just because of the continuous flow and the continuous storm cycle, I mean, we're just going to see more avalanches.
In Salt Lake City, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Gosh, can't even imagine what was going through that snowboarder's head.
Yes, terrifying.
So glad he's okay.
Yeah.
Here's where the Utah Avalanche Center's current danger ratings map stands right now tonight. Most of Utah, you can see, is in the yellow or moderate level, but Logan and Moab, they're in the orange zone or considerable avalanche danger level. You can always check the very latest status of this map at utahavalanchecenter.org.
In the meantime, most of the Salt Lake Valley is seeing rain and wet roads right now, but in the higher elevations, we're seeing snow falling, and that's what's happening right here. This is Little Cottonwood Canyon at SR 210, and I'll tell you what, all of this is welcome precipitation, but of course, we have to be careful out there.
Always.
Right. Yes, and I think there's going to be an interlodge tonight starting at 12:30 for Little Cottonwood Canyon through 8 a.m. So just make sure you're paying attention to traction laws as well over the next couple of days, as we had some very tough driving conditions on Parley's Canyon today. That has improved. We have less traffic right now, but still prepare for winter driving conditions. That snow's coming down. We were just looking at Little Cottonwood Canyon, and what we're going to be tracking for you as we head into the next couple of days will primarily tonight be valley rain and mountain snowfall. Snow levels about 7,000 feet. Suncrest has been getting a ton of snow. That is one of our bench areas that's been seeing some winter driving conditions throughout the day. As we look right now up towards the Idaho border, we have valley rain, mountain snowfall all the way down through central Utah and to Payson, Scipio, and then mainly seeing some snow right now for the mountains east of I-15 and south of I-70 across southern Utah, and also over towards Moab and Blanding. So we do have winter storm advisories, winter weather advisories highlighted in purple, winter storm warnings highlighted in pink. So, well, winter storm warnings I-80 down through Nephi along the mountains and into the Uintas. That's in effect through Wednesday. Let's talk more about what we can expect here across the state with our wave of precipitation tonight, when we'll see a lull, and then when we're going to see another wave of precipitation arriving.
Thanks, Allison. Now to an update from the city of Enoch on funeral services for the victims of the murder-suicide that happened in the town last week that left 8 people dead. Tasha Haight and her 5 children, along with her mother, Gail Earl, will be memorialized this Friday, January 13th in La Verkin. City representatives say the family will provide more information through their choice of methods. The city adds that no other information about the investigation is available right now.
There are new details about a deadly shooting in Ogden yesterday morning. 21-year-old Garrett Gorsh was arrested on suspicion of murdering a 24-year-old woman whose identity has not yet been released. Arresting documents indicate Gorsh told police he shot her after she refused to leave a home. Witnesses reported they had been arguing throughout the night, and Gorsh made threats of violence. Fox 13 News will continue to follow this story.
Unified firefighters now looking into what led up to a garage catching fire this afternoon in the Olympus Cove area of Salt Lake City. It happened just before 5 o'clock near 45th South and Wasatch Boulevard. Crews made quick work of the fire shortly after arriving on scene, but not before it destroyed a car along with a motorcycle inside. They estimate around $100,000 in damage.
We've spoken with the homeowners. They're not quite sure. They didn't have anything in the garage that they were aware of that could have started the fire. It's possible it was an electric fire, possible there could have been some batteries charging, but at this point it's undetermined.
No one was home at the time, so nobody was hurt. Firefighters add that the main door from the garage stopped the fire from spreading into the rest of the house. So it certainly is a good reminder to keep your doors closed to minimize any fire damage.
Corner Canyon High School in Draper had to be placed on lockdown today after someone called in a bomb threat. Police got the call before noon. The caller said he had planted 3 bombs at the school and gave specific details about where they were. Students were told to remain in their classrooms while the bomb squad looked into it. No explosives were found. Police are still trying to track down the caller. After 5 years away from Utah, the Outdoor Retailer Expo is back in the state this week.
This is a big deal. Getting the show, though, to return from Colorado certainly was not easy. There was a massive effort on several different fronts, including the state capitol, Salt Lake International Airport, and leaders in Salt Lake City pushing to expand hotel and convention space.
That included community involvement, really taking the next step to give them a seat at the table in terms of having some candid conversations around some of the issues and the reasoning why they left, but primarily because this is really the best place for them to be.
In fact, the demand for the Outdoor Retailer Expo was so great, the show has now expanded to have 3 expos a year in January, June, and November for the next 5 years. The convention kicks off at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Don't forget, the Good Day Utah team will have live team coverage of this event at the Salt Palace Convention Center. Join us for all of that, plus regular weather and traffic updates tomorrow morning starting at 4:30 a.m.
It's a state agency in charge of investigating and disciplining law enforcement officers. Today, the state was going to appoint a new leader.
Were you asked about it as part of your interview process?
I'm sorry. I'm not able to speak to it, Adam, at this point.
Coming up, how a Fox 13 investigation changed everything.
Classified documents from President Biden's time as vice president were found in a private office. Now the Justice Department is looking into it.
And 1 week after suffering cardiac arrest, Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin starts the next stage of his recovery. How he's doing tonight.
The Utah football team received some good news. Some of their star players are coming back next season.
Brazilian officials now say they have arrested about 1,500 supporters of former President Jair Bolsonaro.
A group of Bolsonaro supporters stormed Brazilian government buildings yesterday, protesting an election that Bolsonaro lost and later claimed was unfair. The winner of that election, President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, said today that the protesters were trying to overthrow the government and promised to punish them with the full force of the law.
The U.S. Justice Department is investigating why a handful of classified documents were left in one of President Joe Biden's former offices. The classified documents are from Mr. Biden's time as vice president. They were reportedly found in an office he used during his work with the University of Pennsylvania. The president's lawyers say he is cooperating with the investigation.
1 week now after going into cardiac arrest on Monday Night Football, Buffalo Bills defender Damar Hamlin is returning home from a hospital in Cincinnati. The 24-year-old is now in a Buffalo area hospital where he will continue to undergo tests and treatment. Doctors say he is already back to normal, a diet, and going into physical therapy.
Police say the Virginia teacher shot by a 6-year-old last week saved lives after she was wounded. Police stress the shooting was not an accident. They say Abigail Zwerner was trying to take the handgun from the child when she was shot. She helped kids evacuate the classroom even as she was losing blood. Tonight, she is in stable condition. The 6-year-old student who pulled the trigger remains in police custody.
Seattle's public school system is suing big tech. The lawsuit accuses many companies, including Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, of exploiting students' vulnerable brains, fueling a youth mental health crisis. The district says the mental health concerns are affecting educators' ability to teach.
Sentencing for film producer Harvey Weinstein was postponed today. He will be sentenced on 3 counts of rape and sexual assault in California next month. The 70-year-old faces 18 years in prison on the California convictions, in addition to a 23-year sentence he is already serving for a conviction in New York. Weinstein claims he is innocent. His lawyers plan to request a new trial.
In California, dive teams right now searching for a 5-year-old child who was swept away by floodwaters. It happened near the Salinas River in Paso Robles this morning. And like much of the state of California, heavy rain has been pummeling the area. The National Weather Service said the area saw more than 2.2 inches of rain in just the past 12 hours.
And of course, we are seeing our fair share of stormy weather here in Utah. It naturally follows that what comes across California will head toward us as well in many cases. We're taking a live look right now at Kimball Junction, near where you get off I-80 to go into Park City. And you can see the snow and slush on the roads and people being careful out there tonight.
Snow in the higher elevations, but down here in the valley for most of us, Allison, it is still rain, right?
That's right. So snow levels about 7,000 feet tonight. Just really a stormy day. I-80 from Salt Lake to Park City back and forth was our toughest drive this evening. Beautiful day though up at Bear Lake. This picture coming in from Carol. Thank you so much for sharing this in our Facebook group, Utah's Weather Authority. We do have some low visibility on top of some winter driving conditions. So not only is it slick out there, it's also tough to see. Evanston has been down to a quarter mile right at the Utah-Wyoming border this afternoon on I-80. So please be really careful in the area. Down to 1.5 miles in Price, Roosevelt 4 miles, 1 mile for Heber, and then up towards the Logan Cache Valley area. Visibility at 3 miles. Also very low at Bryce Canyon, very foggy right now, down to a quarter mile, which is tough and dangerous for driving. Currently 45 degrees here in Salt Lake. That's why we're tracking some valley rain and mountain snowfall. Ogden currently 42, Provo 38 degrees. Here's what I want you to know. Tonight, 10 o'clock, we are breezy here across the state. We'll continue to be breezy throughout the day tomorrow, especially here along the Wasatch Front at 7 a.m. So about 25 to 30 miles per hour. Another windy day, primarily into southwest Utah and south central Utah throughout your Tuesday. So we still have a lot going on. Tonight, we've got valley rain, mountain snowfall. Let's start at the top, work our way down, because we're tracking valley rain all the way from Logan down through Ogden, Layton, Salt Lake, Lehigh, Provo, Santaquin, all the way across the Wasatch Front. We have valley rain, mountain snowfall. Suncrest has been tough today. We've had winter driving conditions right between Alpine and Draper. And then as we, of course, look at Provo Canyon, we've had winter driving conditions today. Wasatch back, as you just saw in Kimball Junction, and then Parley Summit was particularly tough this afternoon. Areas of rain and snow over towards Canyonlands, Moab, Blanding, and then into southwest Utah. Along I-15, mainly seeing some rain from Scipio down through Beaver right now. For Salt Lake through the evening, we're going to keep our temperatures for you close to about 40 degrees throughout the night. So we're tracking more chances for rain tonight. Tomorrow morning, 7 a.m., close to 40 to 45 for Provo, Eagle Mountain, Tooele, Salt Lake, Ogden. Cache Valley, mid-30s, right near freezing for Park City and Evanston. And for St. George, about 45 tomorrow morning. For the Wasatch Front tomorrow, grab the rain jacket. And I would definitely make sure you're keeping in mind it's going to be windy across the state tomorrow, with temperatures about 45, but it's going to feel even cooler than that. So factor that in when you're grabbing your jacket in the morning. By 2 o'clock, we're close to 50 degrees, but again, keep in mind because of the wind, it could feel cooler out there. And our rain chances are going to be going into a bit of a lull throughout the day tomorrow. So overnight through 6 a.m., numerous to widespread. Then we are more into the widely scattered category. And then by 3 o'clock tomorrow, those pop back up. So we could again have slick commute for the evening drive tomorrow. For St. George, 58 tomorrow, 50 on Wednesday, 50s throughout your entire 7-day forecast. Another storm arrives late in the weekend. Tomorrow near 50 here in Salt Lake, 43 on Wednesday with some lingering rain and snow. We'll talk more about the snow levels with the storm coming up.
See you then, Allison. Thanks so much. Still ahead, the Utah Supreme Court takes up a fascinating case about your constitutional rights to lakes, rivers, and streams. We'll take a closer look for you.
And we've had a lot of snow in our mountains this water year. Is it just as good for ski resorts in other states, or is this particular for the greatest snow on earth? We'll show you. An Ogden community activist has thrown his hat into the ring for mayor. Taylor Knuth announced his candidacy today. He's a Weber State grad and highlighted his experience helping to restore the Marshall White Community Center, addressing health disparities among Latinos during the pandemic, and helping raise money for local organizations. He says he wants to bring back Ogden's sense of community.
And I just want to restore that human connection, restore a vibrant community, and restore good character in our city, and put people back at the center of government where they belong.
We've reached out to current Ogden Mayor Mike Caldwell for comment. We've not heard back yet. The mayoral election will be held in November.
The Utah Supreme Court is wading into a lawsuit about anglers' access to both rivers and streams. The Utah Stream Access Coalition claims they have a right to access the public waterways under laws dating back before statehood. But what about the stream bed? That was the subject of debate between lawyers for the coalition, the state of Utah, and a Wasatch County ranch along the Provo River.
I've never pushed for crossing dry lands. The public needs to get in and out through a legitimate access point. But we're arguing for their right to touch the beds of the river, regardless of who owns them, because the public owns the water while it's in the natural channels of the state.
The justices took the case under advisement. No word on when they'll issue a ruling.
Would you like me to watch all of it? Or?
13 months ago, we showed you how a county sheriff was accused of bullying and intimidating officers.
Your perception is wrong.
After the break, the video causing state leaders to question whether this man should still become one of Utah's top cops.
Like I said, we did a lot of great things there.
Will Donovan Mitchell get cheers or boos when he returns to Vivint Arena tomorrow night? We'll hear from Mitchell coming up.
It really comes down to the future, your future in the police department.
It was an investigation you saw only on Fox 13 months ago. Officers say this video is an example of Wasatch County Sheriff Jared Rigby bullying and intimidating police. Now it may cost him.
And okay, that's your decision. You just won't get any trusted positions.
He was scheduled to be one of Utah's top law enforcement officials, in charge of training and sometimes investigating 9,000 peace officers across the state.
As the future post director, don't you think the public has a right to know that you've been reported to post?
I don't know what to say.
This morning, his appointment was postponed indefinitely because of questions being asked by Fox 13 investigative reporter Adam Herbetz in tonight's special report.
Come on. There you go.
This video from March 2021 shows Heber City Police Chief Dave Booth repeatedly putting his hands on a suspect's neck as he struggles to get him into the back of a police car. His own officers reported him for use of force, and the city chose Wasatch County Sheriff Jared Rigby to lead the investigation.
My concerns as a citizen are more after the incident, whether those officers felt they were retaliated against after the fact.
In Heber, they say if the city was looking for a neutral third party, Rigby was the wrong choice because he's close friends with the chief. They go to church together.
The valley is not that big. It's really not.
They were also concerned with this video showing Rigby lecturing officers instead of asking questions.
What Dave Booth did is not even use of force. It really comes down to the future, your future in the police department.
2 officers said they were retaliated against, and the city spent thousands of dollars settling the case.
Heber City does not endorse a culture of bullying or intimidation.
One of the officers also reported Rigby to POST, Peace Officer Standards and Training, the state agency in charge of investigating and disciplining police.
We need to be open, we need to be transparent. There's laws that require us to do that.
13 months later, Rigby was scheduled to be the director of Post, despite the complaint and an active investigation tied to that interview.
You can just hit play.
You can dig in your heels and say,
and that's not what I'm doing.
This is how I feel and no one's going to change. And okay, that's your decision. You just won't get any trusted positions having to do with DT and use of force and sergeant and those kinds of things because you're not willing to learn and be open-minded to it.
Would you like me to watch all of it? Or?
Rigby said he could not talk about the case because of a conflict of interest with the active investigation.
As an incoming Post director, it's not appropriate for me to speak about that matter. There's a pending case right now.
Were you asked about it as part of your interview process?
I'm sorry. I'm not able to speak to it, Adam, at this point.
Rigby's swearing-in ceremony was suddenly postponed after this interview and has not been rescheduled. He was originally appointed by Utah Department of Public Safety Commissioner Jess Anderson upon recommendation by Post Council and with the approval of Governor Spencer Cox. Now they're taking a closer look.
It didn't come to my attention.
He says the video is concerning, but that he didn't know about it until after the decision was made, even though we first published it in December 2021.
Your perception is wrong.
His time of hire actually can be pushed back. Worst case scenario, why would you allow yourself to go down a certain path of what appears to be and has been represented as threatening?
Had you ever Googled Jared Rigby's name prior to the appointment?
As far as a Google search, no.
For more than a year, our investigation has been one of the top, if not the top, search result.
I wouldn't expect anybody sitting on Post Council to say, hey, wait a minute, let's Google his name. Well, they already know him.
But 5 of the 6 members on that search committee say they didn't know about the video or witness intimidation complaint. Sheriff Nate Curtis declined to comment. Some say it absolutely would have changed the way they made decisions in the hiring or interview process.
Rigby was not your first choice.
Yeah, I had selected a different individual other than Jared Rigby at that time.
Deputy Director Alex Garcia was the other top candidate, but after he was told he'd have the job, Post Council took a vote and chose to only recommend Rigby for the position.
Did you feel like your hands were tied?
I was provided one name. It came from Post Council, and I moved forward with that name.
Did you have any other concerns about Rigby other than this, what we're talking about tonight?
I'm not gonna elaborate on that.
He says Post was not able to investigate the witness intimidation complaint against Rigby because Post is not allowed to investigate ethics under statute. Meanwhile, Chief Booth is still under investigation.
I'm not sure what I can answer for you, Adam.
I mean, it's out there. He's recorded saying those remarks.
Scott Stevenson used to be the Post director until he retired in August. Now he's the executive director of Utah's largest police union. He says Rigby was the wrong choice and wrote a letter to the governor after this interview.
When I saw that video, for me, I was surprised, to say the least.
What you're saying is it looks like he had his mind made up.
Yes. I mean, why else would you make those statements?
Get in.
This is what Rigby was hired to investigate, and this was his conclusion. What Chief Booth did is not use of force, much less excessive use of force, because it's not a technique or tactic taught by Post. Stevenson says putting your knee on the back of someone's neck isn't taught by Post either, but it's still use of force.
And you have to lay hands on them. That's use of force. His opinion is concerning to me and probably should be with the public.
Rigby says he cannot talk about that decision either, and that he will separate himself from the active case should the appointment go through. Governor Spencer Cox was also part of approving this appointment. His office so far has declined to comment. Live in studio, Adam Herbetz, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Still to come, what we're learning about a deadly accident involving a Trax rider in downtown Salt Lake City over the weekend. We have the latest on UTA's investigation, plus how riders are reacting tonight.
And some gymnasts were catcalled at Utah's Friday night gymnastics meet. How that impacted them.
And coming up, tracking a storm impacting us now through Wednesday. What to expect for your morning drive coming up.
It was an accident waiting to happen, is what one Trax rider said about the blue line of the UTA's Trax system, saying he was saddened to hear about the deadly Trax accident Saturday night, but not surprised. Terry Wingett says the 4 steps up into a blue line train can be tricky for older riders. He says that he's fallen himself getting off the same train where 61-year-old Salt Lake City resident Blair Profstgard fell while getting off Saturday night at the city center station.
Because of the 4 steps. You have to take those 4 steps up. The other one, you just walk right in. You know, it's just like walking in your living room. And so, you know, it's just an accident bound to happen. I fell off a couple of times, you know, but you just fall down flat and then you pick yourself up.
There's a man. So sad. Saturday night, no one reported seeing the rider fall and slip back onto the tracks and in between 2 cars, getting dragged to his death. A UTA spokesman called it a tragedy, but added while there are a host of unknowns in the incident, he said, quote, nothing UTA has in place would alert the operator that there's someone in that situation, an unfortunate reality. He added a fix would simply not be feasible. The UTA's investigation into the incident continues.
Now transferred over here to Utah for her final collegiate year.
Great addition to their
The number 6 ranked University of Utah Red Rocks beat number 10 Louisiana State in Friday's gymnastics meet at the Huntsman Center. But the backflips and balance beam scores aren't what left people stunned. It's the behavior of some young fans trying to get the attention of LSU gymnast and social media influencer Livy Dunn. Dozens of teen boys attended Friday's meet. Utah gymnasts tell Fox 13 News they were yelling, "We want Livy," and that Dunn was visibly upset. After the meet, they lined up near LSU's team bus, catcalling and yelling at gymnasts and others, resulting in security having to move the LSU team bus and the Utah and LSU gymnasts. The Red Rocks say while they understand how large Dunn's fan base is, commotion like Friday's can be distracting and disrespectful.
She's just like us. She's another gymnast, another teammate. She's doing exactly the same thing, and you know, she must love the support, and she's done amazing for herself. But at the same time, when there's disrespectful comments, it's a bit of a shame, especially when all you're doing is working hard to try and perform for those fans.
The Red Rocks hope fans can learn from Friday's drama and that it will not impact the rest of their season. If you want to support the Red Rocks, they will be performing at the Rio Tinto Best of Utah Friday night, where they will take on BYU, Southern Utah, and Utah State.
Still ahead, 6 teachers from various school districts all across the state and even the world spending a week experiencing what it would be like to work and live on Mars. How they hope it will help inspire their students.
Well, Donovan Mitchell is back in Utah for the first time as a Cleveland Cavalier. How will he be received by Jazz fans tomorrow? And the Utes got some good news. Some of the top offensive players announced they'll return for another season. It's coming up in sports.
Well, this was quite the field trip. Several teachers from Utah got to experience a week-long simulation about what it would like to be if you worked and lived on Mars.
6 teachers from various districts participated in the Spaceward Bound Utah program last month. NASA funds it through the Mars Society. Educators spend time in the Utah desert at the Mars Desert Research Station in Hanksville. With spacesuits, rovers, and hubs, the teachers were able to learn what it would be like to be on the red planet. They plan to bring back what they learned to their classrooms and get their students excited about space exploration.
Need all kinds of different scientists and engineers to prepare
all the equipment for their journeys. There's just so much that needs to be done that there is a place for almost anyone in the preparation to go to Mars.
This was the fourth group of teachers to participate at the Mars Desert Research Station. In all, 271 crews have done research at this station since 2001.
Well, the 4 resorts above the Salt Lake Valley have gotten more snow this year than any other resort in North America.
Wow.
Yeah, Utah's ski industry has enjoyed great success in terms of visitors, but the last 2 seasons, well, you can say they've been lackluster in terms of snowfall.
Yep.
Local skiers know that. This looks like the year when snowfall, though, lives up to the hype once again. In its latest count, get this, the ski industry site Snowbrains shows Solitude, Snowbird, Alta, and Brighton. They're at the top. In fact, the top 4 resorts on the continent in terms of snowfall this season. Fox 13 News also looked up snow totals for all Utah resorts, showing that every resort in Utah has a much better snowpack this year than last.
Oh, hallelujah.
And we're just getting going.
Yeah, that's right. All of it is the greatest snow on earth. In the meantime, it's rainy in Salt Lake City. This is down in the Salt Lake Valley. A live look at State Street and 400 South downtown.
The greatest rain on earth.
The greatest rain. Hey, well, count your blessings that it's not slushy down here.
I was going to say, you know, a lot of people may prefer this. Rain in the valley and all that good snow.
I thought it was a state law. That's what I thought. I thought the legislature had passed a law.
That said, if it's January, it has to be snow. Well,
That's
yes. What we're tracking for you so far is 5.5 inches of fresh powder at Sundance. More in the forecast as we head into tonight, and then we'll have a little bit of a break throughout late morning tomorrow, and then precipitation is going to get going again for your Tuesday afternoon as the storm continues to move right over Utah. And then second half of the week, high pressure is going to build. So by Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we're going to see a break from the storms for us here in Utah. Then by Sunday, we'll have another one moving in. But right now, it's so warm here in Salt Lake. 45 degrees at almost 10 o'clock at night in January. Can you believe that? We've got temps right now in St. George at 44, so it's actually warmer here in Salt Lake than it is currently in St. George. And as we throw you through Futurecast into the overnight hours, by 3 a.m., we could see some widespread moderate to heavy rainfall for the northern part of the state. And into the day tomorrow, we're going to have a little bit of a break late morning. Things are going to get going again tomorrow afternoon. Take a look at your screen, 3 o'clock tomorrow. This is when the bulk of the precipitation is going to be at the Nevada border. Then this moves into Utah, covering our I-15 corridor by 6, 7 o'clock tomorrow night. So during the late evening drive tomorrow night, dinner time, sporting events Tuesday evening, this is where we're going to see potentially some very slick roads. And then by Wednesday early in the day, we could see a transition to some snow even here in the valleys. So that's what we're watching for you right now. Valley rain from Brigham City all the way down through Provo, all the way into Scipio. Cache Valley has been seeing some rain today. Sardine has actually looked really good. I've been very impressed at Sardine Canyon today. I-80's been tough on Parley's Canyon. We do have traction laws in effect for the Cottonwoods plus Interlodge up towards Alta tonight. And then into Nephi, central Utah Valley rain into Scipio. And then south of I-70, we've got a little bit of snow coming down from the mountains. But our I-15 areas in central and southern Utah have been looking really good. So hour by hour forecast into tomorrow morning, about 40 to 45, 6, 7 a.m. tomorrow. By 7 a.m., we could start seeing things a little more isolated. And then we'll have a little bit of a break, more active weather second half of tomorrow. So additional snow with this storm. We could see at the top of the Cottonwood Canyon, so before everything is said and done, we could see more than 30, 35 inches if we're lucky up in the Cottonwood Canyons. For most valley locations, we're looking at 0 to 2, maybe 3 inches. Some locally higher amounts are possible for our benches. It just all depends on the transition to snow with how warm it is. I'm having a tough time seeing a ton of snow here in the valleys, especially sticking to the asphalt because the ground's pretty warm. For St. George, 58 tomorrow with the rain. Wednesday, 50, another storm late weekend into early next week. For Salt Lake tomorrow, widespread rain and windy tomorrow across the state, near 50 in Salt Lake, 43 for a high on Wednesday. Chance for some snow to mix in tomorrow night, and then another chance for some rain and snow late weekend into the early part of next week. So travel with caution, especially tomorrow evening and tonight.
Well, Donovan Mitchell will be back at Vivint Arena tomorrow night when the Jazz host the Cavaliers. He had 5 great seasons with the Jazz before he was traded to Cleveland last summer. And he's playing well with the Cavs. He's 8th in the NBA in scoring, averaging just under 29 points per game, including a 71-point performance last week while leading Cleveland to the 4th best record in the East. He became an all-star in Utah, but what will be the response he receives from fans tomorrow night? He was asked that question after last night's game in Phoenix.
I don't know. I mean, you know, we did, like I said, we did a lot of great things there. You know, obviously we didn't accomplish our end goal. You know, I don't know what the response will be. I hope it's cheers. I had a lot of positives, you know, despite not winning the championship. That's not, you know, it's not easy. Only one team that does it, you know, and we had 5 cracks that we missed. And make it booed and make it cheered. You know, I've been there for 5 years. You know, it's going to see a lot of familiar faces. There's going to be people there that you know and see. But understanding that, you know, it's a lot of great memories, man. That's it. And, you know, just like I said, we got to find a way to win the road. It's a tough place to play.
The Utah football program received some good news today. Starting quarterback Cam Rising is putting the NFL on hold and returning to play 1 more year with the Utes. Rising has led Utah to back-to-back Pac-12 championships, but he'll likely miss spring camp after injuring his knee in the Rose Bowl game. 2 of his favorite targets also announced they are returning to Utah. Tight end Brant Kuithe is also recovering from a season-ending injury into his knee, and wide receiver Devon Vele. So the Utes should be good once again next season. College football national championship game was tonight. TCU against the defending champions Georgia. And the Bulldogs came to play. Stetson Bennett keeps it. Runs it 21 yards for a touchdown. That put Georgia up 7-0 after their first drive of the game. Looked like the Horned Frogs were ready for it. Max Duggan in for a TCU touchdown, cut Georgia's lead to 10-7 later in the first quarter, but it was all Georgia after that. Bennett finds Ladd McConkey wide open. 37-yard touchdown pass put the Bulldogs up 17-7. Then in the second quarter, Bennett with his feet again, that's just too easy. Runs it in for another touchdown. Georgia added 1 more score before the half. Bennett with his second of 4 touchdown passes. It was 38-7 at the half. Georgia won it 65-7 to win their 2nd straight national championship.
For a national collegiate football game?
Unbelievable.
I think the wrong team got in. And you know which one I'm talking about.
Like, did TCU just go back and get on the bus?
TCU
what they do?
That was their first loss of the season. They battled last week against Michigan in a high-scoring game, and they earned the right to be there. They just got beaten.
Georgia's
pretty soundly.
Too good. You can say that again. Kind of a bummer for a game. You like those close kind of nail-biter games.
The semifinals were outstanding. Both of them were great, but this one is a dud.
Well, Georgia fans are ecstatic.
Yeah, they are.
Thanks,
TCU
Jeff.
fans, not so much.
We'll be right back. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
QuickCast is up next.